to order. The first order, so good morning to everybody. The first order of business is the approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Great. The next order of business is to check on the action items, and because all of them were Mike, we're going to skip that.
We've got to vote to approve them.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
That's right. We need to vote to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now, the next item is check on the action items, and they were all Mike. With the exception of, I had originally asked him to contact Rich Atwood to tell him about the rise in fees. Hey, hi.
Patrick wants to hear.
And I, in a conversation with Rich Atwood, I learned that the best thing to do is actually contact the funeral homes. So I'm working with Mike to do that now. So that's, we're on checking on the action items. Good morning. The next item is the spring cleanup and summer maintenance, and that's why I definitely want a Hugh here.
Mm-hmm.
First, I want to start off, are there any issues that we need to know about that you're grappling with?
No, basically, putting a new motor in one of the stand-up machines, that's there. We're working on that when time allows, obviously. That's it. We're in the shed trying to get some cleanup going, time allows. Hopefully we get a couple good summer helpers this year. That's, so we can keep up with that. I know our hedges got a little out of control last year. Again, we were working, trying to pull some OT, trying to catch up, but we just couldn't. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
One of the things that, when he comes back, that I want to bring up is the recommendation in the Preservation Inc. report that we stop using string trimmers anywhere in the old section at all, period. So we need to talk about that. And then the other thing that has come up is the idea of not mowing the old section more than once or twice a year. That with all the time and all the low plants that are in there, it may not need it. So I'd love to hear what Hugh has to think about that. So those are.
How tall would it, it would sort of become a field though, wouldn't it?
No, because it's time is about this tall. Yeah.
I mean, even the ground cover is all the time?
It's pretty much all time, yeah. And the rest of it's grass that doesn't grow very well.
It
So,
smells wonderful when you walk on it.
yeah, it really does. Yeah, no, it wouldn't, and
Great idea.
it would save a lot of,
Save a lot of time.
save a lot of, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, but I think the big issue is if we're gonna spend 300 grand fixing all those stones, let's just make sure we never have this problem again.
And
Plus, at that era, they didn't mow the lawns, everything did go up. So it would be add to the historic look to the whole area.
it really would, yeah. I was in Scotland a few years ago and saw an old cemetery, and indeed, the grass was about 2 or 3 feet high.
Yeah.
It was clearly
Really?
nobody mowing.
And this might not be even that high.
Oh, I don't think it would
doubt
ever
it
get
would
that.
ever get very,
Right.
Yeah.
then we can transplant
Good idea.
time close to the stones.
Yes, I actually want to do
If
that.
there's a lot of time out there, we could just transplant it.
Yeah,
Because I've done that before and it takes off.
yeah.
Especially if you've cleared an area right around a stone.
Yeah.
Because I've done that and put it in spots in my garden and it's come from my lawn. You just go and you just transplant it and the next thing you know, in no time at all, it's spread. So
Yeah.
Pun intended.
it just does its thing.
Or just
Oh, thank you.
Recommendations on page 112, they actually do talk about machines as well as trimmers.
Seems to do well.
They say the landscaping staff should be immediately told to keep machines away from all gravestones to prevent future damage. Landscaping staff may need to be educated about the types of damage that can occur, and their future work should be carefully monitored to ensure that they comply. This includes lawnmowers and string trimmers. And this is interesting, the exhaust from two-stroke engines should not be permitted to concentrate on any gravestone surface to prevent disposition of oil. Deposition would be the worst when an engine is cold, so. It's on page 112.
Well, I'm glad you have that because I didn't bring my copy of the report and I wanted to, I wanted to talk with you about that, so. Okay, so,
Sorry about that. No, we're starting to clean up islands and stuff. So, our main visual focus in town area, and we'll start working our way into the cemetery and stuff, so.
And April's the month you're gonna pull out the old decorations too, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. We gave it a pretty good cleanup in the fall there, so I think it should come back pretty quick. We got some roads, some driveways that need some attention with some ruts and things, but,
Yeah, good.
and, oops, sorry.
No.
Where are we with the post? Who's putting the post in and the iron two rail out front, or what's going on with that?
Don't know, the post repair. Mike, yeah,
Yeah, Michael's
Yeah.
telling me, so I'll have to follow up.
okay.
Because we got them in the shed, and it's really tightened our quarters maintenance area, so
So they're here.
they're in the shed.
Oh, yeah, they're
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they are, yeah.
gorgeous.
So,
And replace those concrete ones that are,
It is.
yeah, the concrete
Falling
ones are
apart.
repaired, yeah. All right, so then the other thing, you're hoping to have a dedicated crew, is that right? Or was that last year's thinking?
I think we're hoping to have somebody. Does that make sense? I mean, it's hard to dedicate anybody just right now. I think any help that we can get is gonna be,
Absolutely.
yeah.
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 Yeah, that makes sense. So then the other thing we wanted to talk about, the other thing we wanted to talk about was not using string trimmers at all in the old section.
Okay,
That's what the report had said, just no string trimmers, period. And we also wanted to float the idea of only mowing once or twice a year.
really?
It's very low in there. We could try it and see.
Yeah.
Maybe do something at the beginning of the year and then kind of keep an eye on it and see. But that idea had come up when people were walking around and looking at how low everything is. There's a lot of time in there.
Yeah.
Roxanne and I are going to do a little time transplanting around headstones sometime this summer. So I'd like to give it a try. Is everyone pretty comfortable with that? I'd like for you to be comfortable with it, though.
No, I am. I think last year was hard because we had so much rain, so it just constantly grew. I mean, the year before, it kind of slowed right down, but are you thinking, I mean, I guess the old section up front, were you thinking,
Just the oldest section up front.
okay,
Yeah, just that.
Yeah.
And that's where the roller repair is going to happen, yeah.
all right, so
We have
maybe,
a sense of what that area is.
yeah, so maybe we'll just mow along the driveway a couple, you know what I mean? At least
Yes.
people think we're not abandoning it, but maybe we'll do that in the front of the hedges or a fence or something, just kind of,
Well, that makes sense because there's actually more grass growing in
Right.
that area anyway. So
Right.
mow that. But around the headstones, leave it as much as you can. Just don't even touch
Okay.
it. No, and definitely no string trimmers.
okay.
And what else was it, Peter, on the report? Something about idling engines,
two-stroke engines.
two-stroke engines, but if they're
Yeah,
not
this-
mowing.
I don't know if this is a big issue, but the consultants say the exhaust from two-stroke engines should not be permitted to concentrate on any gravestone surface to prevent deposition of oil. Deposition would be worse when the engine is cold, so. That's a new one on me, but maybe it means something to you, I don't know. They also say, the next point is the landscaping staff should be immediately told to avoid use of fertilizers, herbicides such as Roundup or de-icing salts in the cemetery. These products introduce salts which can damage gravestones.
We use any of that?
I think Hugh has said since he came on, we've not used any.
No, we don't plow or maintain the cemetery unless there's a service that they gotta get to. That's the only time we really
Yeah.
open it up.
And you're not using any herbicides anymore.
No, we decided to let the driveways kind of go natural.
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep them knocked down and,
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
yep.
So that is one thing that might happen if we allow the grass to grow up a little bit. Sometimes we'll end up with broadleaf weeds growing up. So we'll have to just look at it as it happens. And I don't know if we decide to hand pull things or,
It might be no more time to hand pull them
Right,
than to
right.
mow it, so.
right.
The biggest fear is let people know what we're trying to do, so it ain't a reflection of lack of effort or caring on the highway, I don't want people to think highways neglecting it,
A little sign that says we're experimenting with.
We could do that.
With returning the cemetery to how it would have looked during the day.
Exactly, yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
just no brambles, so Mary
Right.
Hopkins. could
Right, exactly.
retrieve it.
Right. Please park your horses by the entrance.
We could let the cows in again and then see what happens.
Get some sheep and not have to mow anything.
That's
Even
right.
though that Richmond farm can loan us some.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, so we'd love to give that a try, and you can let us know if, and if he's run into a problem, of course, we'll change it. But I love the idea of just not doing anything in that section and seeing what happens.
We'll just border it.
Order it, yeah.
Right.
I think with the hedges there, the grass is going to grow a little bit more anyway because it's a little more shady. So, yeah, that sounds good. All right, is there anything else on that? All right. So the next item is assessment of remaining space in the town cemetery. And I met with Rich Atwood to talk about that on Wednesday.
How did that go?
Oh, it went very well. He's a real pleasure to work with. I had gone into it concerned that we were going to run out of space in, 2 years, and that's not going to happen. But he has pointed out that the current section needs to be actually laid out.
Yeah.
Mapped out to maximize the remaining space. And recent burials have been a little too widely spaced, and the spaces haven't been marked out in advance. So this is what he's proposing, and I've asked him to give me an actual proposal of what it would cost to have him map out the remaining unmapped areas in the newest section. And then below that, we have another whole section that's completely open, and then we have the oval that is completely open. Now, there are issues with, as you go north, it gets wetter and wetter and wetter, so.
So the area that has been mowed, is that cemetery land there? Where near the base of the Namke Hill?
If it's on the other side of the driveway, the north side of the driveway, that is not. That is
okay.
trustees of reservation.
Okay,
And they're going to be using
So
that.
did Rich how did he lay this out in terms of, what about cremations versus?
Right, we
full
talked about
burial?
that. And full burials at this point are 4 by 10. We could go to 3.5 by 10. That would gain us some more space, and it's perfectly reasonable from what he's saying. Cremations, Great Barrington puts 4 in a 4 by 10 spot. So we could definitely do 2 or 3 or even 4 in a 3.5. So cremations definitely take up less space. And there's a section there's a portion of the newest section. There are some burials in the front and there's some burials in the back, and there's this big space in the middle. And given what the amount of space, he said this is a perfect area for cremations only.
Okay.
You can get several in there. It makes a lot of
Do
sense.
we not keep families together? What if one's cremated and the other is?
No, we do keep families together.
Okay.
Yeah, but only 2.
what do you
We're
mean?
entitled to 2 spots in the cemetery.
So you can't have a body, a cremation, and potentially 2 more cremations go in? We're not allowing that?
I don't know. I'd like to see him map it out, and then we get a better sense of the space.
What did you say the size of the cremation was?
He gave me one dimension, but not the other. I asked several
Has
times.
to be 4 by 2.5 if it's 4 by 10.
No, it's basically 3.5. 3.5 seems to be either 4 feet or 3.5 seems to be the width. So cremation could be 3.5 by a shorter length.
So when he,
A square?
To every one.
4, so that's.
Yeah, so it's gotta be
Probably
2.5. I mean, 4 by 10.
6 of them in there, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
well, possibly. I mean, I think again, I bow to his, lay it out and then we can kind of see
We
it.
have a potter's field. That's where I want to go.
We have an old potter's field. Yes, it's unmarked. It's very boring. Well, oh, you mean, that's literally where you want to go.
Yeah,
Oh, all right.
Just throw me in there.
Okay, so
And one of
put that in-
Candace's green burials.
We'll put that into the minutes.
yeah, so you said that he said they were too widely spaced? So that means there's like a little empty zone between graves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so often the reason why we do that is if you're allowing headstones,
Right.
you have a little breathing space between them so they don't look,
I think he's including that.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I believe he's including that.
all right. Because to me, it looks so much more crowded in the newer section than it does in the older sections.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is exactly, because I don't understand how everything's laid out.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to see this mapped.
That's really what I want from him is, and I do think that it is time for us to say, yes, let's mark out spaces.
Absolutely.
And, okay, so the next big thing is in that round open oval area where there's nothing at all, there is a private sewer line. You guys know about that? I don't know if you know about that.
I think you mentioned that.
There's a private sewer line, and Chris has talked about it, connecting to a house on Main Street. So it interrupts the usable space in the oval. And Rich and Chris had talked to me about this as well. Rich and Chris had both had the idea of moving the road to, and they might have mentioned it to you too, to incorporate, be over that sewer line.
Yeah.
Which would gain us about 30 full burial spaces on the other, what is now the other side of the road. And it would also free up, the space that's in the oval would actually become completely available.
And how long till we run out of spaces? Was your analysis?
His analysis was between 30 and 100 years, depending on how we manage.
So we don't really need those 30 spaces right now anyway, right?
No, but we should move the road. I think we should move the road because we can't, it's a sewer line over there. And it's just a waste. We can't bury anyone where that sewer line is.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to do it now too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do it
we
now.
just need to get the map in here maybe and take a
Right.
look.
Yeah.
Right.
Determine.
What is the cost for that? Do we know?
No, I've asked him for a proposal.
Oh, okay.
And what I asked him to do also was to break out the road removal separately in case the highway department wants to do it. I wasn't sure. if it was
Exactly,
something-
because that might be something the highway department would tackle.
It's a very simple road. It's not paved. It's just a
Yeah,
gravel.
so gravel road.
Where in the oval is the sewer line, do you know?
It's near the top. It's near
Under the
the,
ground.
the southern, and underground. It's at the southern end, so near the top, but
Okay.
not close enough to the top that it's not in the
So
way.
it kind of just cuts across the top, or is it diagonal? I mean,
Seems to be straight down. There's actually a little.
it's really just shifting the current road
Yes,
more north. Okay.
Yeah, so as you drive in, along the border and then turn to the south,
Yeah.
you would just turn earlier.
Okay.
The road would just shift over. And you had heard about this, right?
Yeah. Chris thought about putting the road over it, and Rich made a good point about putting it just alongside of the sewer, because it's not very deep, and he's worried about freezing, but we don't maintain it. But if we ever got to open it up for a service, then,
Yeah.
you're not protected by
Yeah.
any snow, so.
So,
But any moving it probably ought to happen before you start utilizing that space, then you're upsetting
Right.
resting places, I guess,
Yeah.
that would be the main.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we haven't touched the oval at all. And I don't think we're going to need to for quite some time. But why not just do this now while we
Yeah.
can make it happen? And then it does give us more space, additional space in the newest section. So we can more logically fill that in as well.
so I'm confused. It's got to connect somewhere outside the oval. Where is it connecting?
No, it's not going to be outside. We're simply shifting one arm of the
Where does the
oval.
private sewer line go?
Oh, that I don't know.
It comes.
There's a town sewer line that runs also through the
Yeah,
cemetery.
yeah, he'd have to show you on the map.
Okay.
Yeah, we have.
We don't confuse it.
Provide the maps.
Yeah.
Tony,
Yeah.
yeah.
Does the road have a name?
No,
Can we name it?
no.
It's called the White Avenue.
No, I don't want to.
Probably should have lane names in there.
That's a good one, Peter.
Marshall Landing. I like that.
I won't take it. Yeah, so I'm just looking at my notes here. If we move the road, Rich estimates we would gain 33 full burial spots in the current section. And since cremations is now accounts for something like 60 to 70% of all internments.
Well, I don't know what it is in Stockbridge. Is that true in Stockbridge
I
too?
think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to be seeing more and more cremations, and so should have plenty of space. So, yep. All right, so again, I've asked him for an estimate. He's going to send it to me. And then it sounds like I should let Mike know. And you're okay with the moving of the road? That sounds like a reasonable thing to you?
Yeah, I think if you're gonna do it when he's on board, you don't, no,
Good
be the time,
Yeah, I agree.
And we're talking about cremations and regular burials. Is there any effort to sort of think in the future about green burials and where they would go?
Well, obviously, I would love to see the town be doing green burials. And I think one of the reasons to get this mapping done is to figure out, can we integrate them in the existing conventional system? Does it need to be a separate area somewhere else? But like you mentioned before, in a couple, often one person wants the body burial, one person wants cremated remains. So that's the reason to integrate things. And I know Richie Atwood does green burials in other towns, so I'm sure as a grave digger, he doesn't have trouble doing them.
Yeah, the biggest issue that I hear from him is the issue of subsidence, that you have to keep filling the area at some point. Right, because the first 2 or 3 years. things.
I recall at one of our site visits, we talked about the island maybe being more than that and just
Yeah.
letting it go
In the oval there.
natural. But
Yeah.
I wonder,
I
that's,
think it could be beautiful. There could be a designed green burial area to sort of, be a counterbalance to the Sedgwick pie. I mean, it's very possible to have a beautiful area of
Yeah.
that cemetery landscaped.
yeah.
Pollinators or, one stately tree. I mean, it could be lovely.
Yeah. And the other thing in that area, because as I said, as you go further north, it gets wetter. He was suggesting that when we're doing the road, that maybe we try to level off the oval, pushing more soil down toward that. That would
Oh, that would raise it up a little.
rise it up, and it would give us more space to do that kind of thing. So I think we need to think about that as well.
And
And
that requires a bylaw change. Because right now, the bylaws require a sealed vault. That's written in the bylaws, so we as a team, to update that if we want green burials in town.
that would be something. Yeah. And then one last very minor thing, Hugh, Rich said that we have wonderful sand there, and he can't, whenever he does a burial, he has to take it away. He was wondering if there was a spot, he had an idea of a spot of where he could just sort of leave it and pile it up, because it is very good sand and it's kind of a waste to take it away. How does that sound to you? Is there?
yeah, I agree, because especially if, up in the older sections, where they're near, natural burials almost, there's a lot of undulation, that material can be used and it would slow the growth, the lawn growth down, because it's not, it's not a loomy soil. So
Yeah.
if we had it, retained it somewhere, we could utilize it throughout that way there, we put topsoil in, but you're gonna have patches of,
Yeah. So he was suggesting, as you're in the new section facing toward Namke, way down in that corner. Way down, just leave a pile there. Is that okay?
I agree, because every other cemetery has a pile, if you plant a hemlock or two there and put it behind it, nobody would know it was
Yeah.
there.
So I'll let him know.
Yeah.
He can start doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it, so I guess it's up to the commission more
Well,
than.
that's true. I guess, do we need to have a vote on that?
Yeah. It's not
Well,
really,
the other thing to think about is if we go green burials, it's often convention in green burials just to mound them up.
Yeah.
So that then you don't have the issue, or the subsidence issue happens, but then it levels out over the course of a year or so. So that would preclude the reason to have a pile.
right, but.
But in some areas, you still will have the vault and you'll compact it and,
Right, but I don't think everybody's gonna wanna go
right,
natural, but you're always gonna have some vault in some
Right, yes.
areas, so.
yep.
Absolutely.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. But I think just it's a resource that we have. So.
Yep.
Would someone want to do we need to make a motion about this? Yeah, we can. Yeah, go ahead. You make a motion.
Make a motion, we embrace the pile.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And I'm putting it down as embrace the pie. Okay, good. All right. Any other questions about spacing issues? I think getting the map will give us more information, and then we can come up with some more questions at that point. But if anybody's got anything else.
Real quick, just on the cleanup, I have November 1st and April 15th on one of our old meetings. Is that still the dates? Okay. So April 15th.
Good. And then the last item is the policy for public tours, which we need to revisit. I'm going to suggest that we have a form that people who want to give tours have to fill out. That includes the day, time, the organization, and that also tells them the contact information of the whoever's handling burials. Because that is my big concern, that whoever's doing a tour has access to Rich Atwood. Rich Atwood has access to whoever's doing the tour in case there's a burial.
Can they bury all day long,
Yes.
or they tend to be in the mornings, or
There's no restrictions.
no restriction?
So is there going to be any limitation in terms of number of people in a public tour?
Well, let's have a discussion about that. I don't know. I'm also going to suggest, by the way, aside from that question, that, that anybody wanting to do a tour has to be reviewed and approved by the commission at a commission meeting. The same way that people come into the select board once a year so you can do multiple tours.
Right.
But you come in once a year with your request. Does that make sense?
Assuming they don't plan it partway through the year. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly, it's a permit situation.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, because we want to know when people are there. It's not a big deal, like for the library. I'm wondering, what is the normal size of a library? Ones that are already ongoing.
Well, they haven't done them in a while. This is their first time going
Yeah,
back
I mean,
into it.
just-
When I ran them, my size ranged from between 20 and 50.
Okay.
So it did-
Maybe just keep the chief involved, just so in case he gets calls or something, you know, at least he's in the loop. If there's a situation, he kind of knows what he's getting into or something, you know?
It's just notification.
Yeah.
But the thing is, do you want to be able to allow like somebody bringing in 200 people at a time? In which case, I think we have to worry a little bit about the control of that, and are they going to be doing any damage? What are they walking there? I just think and then you get into a police situation where the police definitely want to know when you have a gathering of that many people.
Right.
So I think 50 is certainly a reasonable number. It's not terribly restrictive.
I mean, 50 hooligans versus 200 elderly, people lost in Kansas. I mean, honestly, I think it's a little bit more about the character of the visitors, not the number. And I also and I don't know that, public land is open to the public when the facility is open. So we set the times, the last meeting, and I'm not going to oppose this, but I would request that town council review whether we have the authority to limit the ability for someone to go on public land and talk to visitors as a tour guide, or to limit the number of people. These are questions that have to do with sort of the general rules around access to public spaces, not specifically about our cemetery. I'm not sure we can do what you wanted to do legally, but if we can, I have no problem with it.
Well,
Quite sure we can do the time. In other
Oh, the
words-
time we already did, yeah.
Right.
It's whether we can say to someone they can't be a tour guide unless we permit them. I don't know that we have the authority to do that.
well, I looked up a little bit of the bylaws, the state bylaws regarding cemeteries, and I found this, section 23. Said board shall have the sole care of superintendents and management of all public burial grounds in its town.
Yeah. Okay.
So it kind of sounds like we have total control.
How do you control people not knowing about
Yeah.
the regulation and just going in? And it could be a family that's having a reunion, a family reunion, and they want to go to the cemetery and they've got, 25, 30 people in
That's
there.
not a tour.
reunion.
that's not a tour.
That's not a tour.
We're talking about things that are announced publicly to encourage the public
I
to
mean,
come
what
in.
you're talking about is a family event,
Yeah.
which I don't think should be
No,
controlled.
No.
Yeah, my only question is just, once you've written about whatever we want to do, whatever you want to do, just have town
It's
council
us,
review
by the
it.
way, not you. It's your part.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying you're going to write them, I assume, and I'm going to vote for whatever you want. I'm just saying, I would like town council to just have a glance at it and make sure
that's
that
fine.
if she has any concerns that we
Right.
listen.
The other thing that I'm wondering is where is the best place to make this information available? And I like what you said about the chief being notified, and that reminds me that there's several people who need to be notified when there's going to be a tour. That includes the facilities manager, whenever that happens. That includes whoever's handling burials. It might include you, actually, Hugh, I just realized, because you're going to be working in there, so.
Try to schedule cleanups.
Right.
Can you put the permit form on the website?
Town website? Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
can, yeah. And I'm just wondering if there's any other public notice that we need to, any other place, do we do some kind of public notice that says,
Well, yeah, you could. I mean, we could do press release initially, but obviously it should be on the website.
yeah,
Have the selectmen announce it at the next meeting?
Whenever tour is gonna happen?
Whenever,
Yeah.
yeah, at some point, once all this is put together, then it would be announced in our meeting.
Oh, but we have a new policy, yeah, but
Yeah.
not for every tour.
No,
No,
Right, okay,
no, just what the policy is. Here's the
Yeah, sure.
requirement.
yeah,
We need you to fill out a permit.
Yeah.
With this kind of information and make the permit available, all that stuff.
okay,
Yeah, but the whole procedure and policy has to be set up first. So.
yeah, all right. So,
And I think we should add in, if we're going down the permit policy, I think we should ban tours after dark.
oh, we yeah,
We already set the hours of
We
it,
already
but let's
said
be
that.
right on the form, it tells what the hours of the cemetery are and, no like,
And I know we talked about signage the last time.
yeah,
And I would say basically, I don't know if Mike's done anything about it. I doubt he's had time.
Yeah.
I would guess, because we already have the design for the directional signs in town, which is being handled by the Chamber of Commerce. But I would just suggest copying the font and colors. And it's basically black printing on white, but copy that same font. The only one that we have up right now is the one on the corner of Elm Street in Maine. So, at least in that same font, same colors.
okay,
So we're consistent.
and maybe even, we could do a really, we don't need a design manual, but, having, memorializing whatever the look and feel of that sign is, like Roxanne is saying, is a really good idea. So that people can just have something to go to and say, okay, it's this. So if we need a new sign in 10 years, nobody has to kind of guess,
Right.
Have a town style sheet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basic.
Exactly.
Design guide, whatever, yeah.
yeah. So it seems like the next step is someone to take a stab at writing this policy. And I can tell you think it should be me.
Oh, I don't care.
I'm actually going to ask.
It'll be much shorter if I write it.
There are no rules, all is allowed. Is there anyone who is willing to make a stab at it?
I'll look at yours.
All right, that sounds good.
You want me to take whatever is composed and design it up for the form? I can do that.
Okay, all right, that's good, all right. So,
I'm good at form design.
okay,
I'll take what Pat does and turn it into an Acrobat interactive form if you want, so that they can actually fill it out.
Yep.
Okay.
I did one of those for Mike for the short-term rentals.
Okay,
And you can do that in Word too.
Yeah, with the fillable form fields.
Form fill, yeah.
And we want to also make it so you can submit them. So you can hit a button and it
yeah,
into town and you can print it.
I
Yeah.
agree, okay, all right. And Candace will review, all right. I'll give it a shot, go from there, and that's it, we're done. Yes.
I haven't been in the last couple, but is there any more talk on the buildings or services to the buildings or the garage door, the sill or?
I'm so sorry, we're still,
No, I know, I just,
the services, that you want to bring water and electricity?
I think there's an issue with the water. And then there was an issue of updating the hydrants in the cemetery. And I don't know if we should piggyback the water service with electric and at least plumbing in some kind of gas to the building. Even if you don't use it, you got a trench open, now's the time. Because, each year you put it off, it gets more expensive. So I.
You want to make a proposal for this town meeting for something like that?
No, I just didn't know if there had been any more talk about any or if there was, I don't know.
And the garage door needs replacing, right?
Yeah, the left side and the sill's kind of kicked in there. And it's just, I think we talked about it a little bit and then we just kind of, that door is kind of like hard to manage, so it'd be nice to.
Yeah.
Just needs to be replaced.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we have an estimate?
No, I think we talked,
We did at one point though,
I don't know.
before your time.
Yeah, maybe, I think one side was.
Had some
replaced.
kind of I think we had an estimate.
Okay.
And it was specifically for electricity and I think some other things.
Yeah, well, there was a question on the water service too. So I thought if we're gonna do that, then, I mean, you got a trench open, now's the time, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. What's the best way to get an estimate of what this would cost?
Michael and you.
Yeah, and we can look up the old one. I think Henry Kirschdorfer might have done it.
Okay.
Is that something we could do this year without,
We should at least get the authority to do it.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
even if it takes 2 years to implement, then you have the spending authority.
Right. I mean, we're not talking huge sums of money here, so
No.
well, I'm even wondering if it's possible to take it out of the regular cemetery budget.
could be, yeah.
It depends, you know, if it's not huge, I think
Yeah.
we might be able to do that. So then we really should get an estimate maybe by next month if we can, by our next meeting. That would be really helpful because I'd like to get that on the agenda and, 'cause we should move on this. It's been
Yeah.
around for a long time.
Even the painting of the building, you know, outside, I mean, it's part of its maintenance, you know, the longer you let that go, the more, you know, damage can occur, you know, so nice to get a nice coat sealed up and.
Yeah, so, all right, yeah, so work with Mike to get an estimate for the water, the electricity, the garage door, the sill, and the painting, and see, let's go for let's find out what the whole thing costs, and,
Then I had a question along, and this is maybe I just am not quite understanding. It struck me as not problematic, but potentially problematic if we really only are able to authorize spending at the annual town meeting. Because, you know, we could have an extraordinary expense, especially with storms getting worse and all the things that are going on right now. And so there's two ways I thought, or two aspects of dealing with that. One might be to have a standing appropriation for emergencies so that we could access maybe up to $25,000, you know, just if we needed it, you know, and at the discretion of the cemetery commission, you know, just a vote. And then the other thought I had was, for things like that, I remain a little bit concerned about drawing down the cemetery trust fund all the way. And with no reflection on the current highway department, I do believe a significant portion of that money that we're appropriating is due to damage that was caused by the town, at no fault of, you know, kind of the cemetery as a standalone thing. And Roxanne and I haven't talked about this because it would be legal, but I would support having some portion of that money come out of a general appropriation and a warrant item so that we could leave at least something in the trust fund. When you add up the sergeant money for the sergeant grave and for the renovation, we're talking about spending all of the money in the trust fund. And it strikes me that, like, you know, why not leave at least a little bit of it? 100,000 maybe, I don't know.
I at no point was I thinking we would take any more money out of the trust fund.
Okay.
I don't even think that's a possibility
Yeah,
right
but
now,
I think the idea of
so don't
being
worry.
part of the cemetery budget, because there's a budget line
Right.
item. So maybe part of it is also we have, you know, whatever, a sub-account that we trickle feed. And that would be set up for emergency, you know, response to things. In other words, it's just going to sit there and accumulate until we actually have an emergency.
But would this be considered an emergency?
But it would be part of the budget. It would be part of your annual budget and that you're planning basically ahead of time, just like we allocate, you know, $100,000 over so many years to buy a new fire engine. It's the same type of thing. You know, a few $1,000s every year. You have an incident, then you have money sitting there.
Okay,
Rainy day fund.
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, because their second alternative also requires going to the town and getting a vote on it. So I would love to do this from existing money if we possibly can, without
It's up to
having.
you, just, I mean, I don't know,
But we don't know how much it's going to be, that's the thing.
which is this?
What we were just talking about, water services.
Oh, I was talking just in general about making sure that we're ready if there's an emergency. I mean, you can get a wind event of 150 mile an hour wind and literally take down 30 trees and, you know, and just adding another level of dealing with that, which is the, you know, accessing funds is we can anticipate And I think we should, you
Oh,
know.
I had gone to Mike a while ago and said, perhaps we should raise the cemetery budget for this kind of thing, so that we don't have to constantly go back to the town and ask.
Exactly.
And
What is it right now?
you're gonna ask me, I don't know off the top of my head, it's about 15,000.
Okay.
That seems to include some salaries though, like for what we're paying Rich Atwood, I believe.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it's somewhere in there.
That's the easy way to do it.
That- I think
Is to
that's-
include it in the budget, just bump your budget.
I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Yeah, I had suggested that, and he wasn't sure we needed to do that, but I think it's something to look at. And it's not too late this year to do that, right?
No.
Okay, good.
Is there any insurance, town insurance that covers things like damage to headstones from
That's a good question.
trees and stuff?
No.
Good question. Although,
Because if you have a windstorm and it does damage an insured structure, I know this from experience, then, it does cover
Yeah.
removal of tree from the insured structure.
I would think we probably do, because with the recent incident where the tree came down on the jungle gym, that is insured. And they're actually not only replacing the jungle gym, they're actually they're paying for the tree removal. So I would think so, that it's probably a blanket policy for all town-owned property.
Because I know that it
But
will,
we can check on it.
I know my insurance policy covered removal from the insured structure. And there was no limit on what that cost could be, but there was a $500 limit from,
Oh, okay.
landscape.
Haul it away.
Yeah,
But we can find out.
yeah,
I suspect, that somehow we're covered and probably
That's a good idea.
town.
yeah, because
Town property.
repairing some of those
So
headstones.
what do you see in terms of the budget there? Is there any money in the highway department budget also for cemetery stuff, or is that?
Not really. I mean, you got your own little budget here that we,
Yeah, and how much is it? It's hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard to read, yeah.
yeah, well, the total budget is
35 almost.
33,449. And it breaks down into salaries, equipment repairs, mowers, gas, purchase mowers, purchase trimmers.
This is under highway?
Cemetery.
It's got its own cemetery, but it's under highway, yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
All right, it sounds like I need to check with Mike about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, he'll be back tomorrow.
Okay, all right, all right, good. I'm really glad you brought that up, because about it, and we need to be dealing with that. It's a good time to do that. Right,
So just to be clear, you don't want me to bring up at our budget meetings, as a warrant item to, replace some of the 325 that were taken out of commission. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys, but I'm willing to
sorry, I
advocate
don't
for
understand
it.
what you just said.
So let's say we took 225 out of the commission and did a $100,000 warrant item to finish it off. So we left a little bit more in the commission budget, in the commission fund. It was just, I'm not strongly wed to it, but I wanted to bring it up and say I could propose that at a budget meeting.
I say go ahead.
I don't know, I'd be cautious. I'm a little worried that we have so much that's big ticket item.
Yeah.
And when we talked about this before, we're doing this, but this fund has not been touched in gazillion years. And so it's kind of like working on the chime tower or the Soldiers Monument, where this is a once every 100 years kind of event. And I think if we're being careful and if we bump the budget up for emergency purposes, we don't have money, and that would not come out of that trust fund. And I don't know if it's necessary. I just worry, but I would want to run it by Mike.
Yeah, that would be my concern also, that I feel like it's easier right now to go to the town and say, we have the money. We can cover this cost completely.
Yeah.
No extra money has to flow in from taxpayers. We can cover this. That's my concern as well. I'm happy to have you talk to Mike about it.
No, I don't want to talk to him. Look, there's 10 other things on the list. I did already mention to him. I know the mechanics of it, it's just a decision we have to make about whether we think we're leaving enough in. And if you think we are, I'm fine with that.
Well, I'm not sure what else we use it for other than this kind of thing.
Right.
The vault.
We're going to renovate the historic structure and turn it into something.
Well,
for
before we
example.
do that, we have to renovate the vault, which is much
I mean,
better.
these are just examples of things we would do with it. It's about-
Right, I don't think that, yeah, that's right, but how much is that going to cost, and, you know?
I don't know, but that's why, I'm just saying the damage wasn't taking. I would much rather have the money available to do those kind
The
of cool things,
damage
but
does
I get it.
does
I get
not
it.
come from the highway department, past or present. The damage came from time and the fact that it's marble and the stones are almost 250 years old. It's soft, it's time and weather, and that's really what's caused the damage. And we're doing our best to restore them.
I'm not blaming anybody, bringing up, and I don't.
Well, I just
it
wanted
is
to
what
make,
it is.
I just wanted to make that clear, that it's, I mean, the string trimmers don't help. But that's a lack of knowledge years ago, so.
The other
So
thing to keep in mind-
for my own understanding here, the 300,000 for the preservation work, we still need town approval to do that.
Absolutely. It
Yes,
hasn't happened
okay.
yet, yeah.
Okay, and so that's, I guess I missed what you were really
So
saying.
what bucket do you take the money out of? Do you take it out of the cemetery trust fund only? Or do you take some out of the
Oh, I
cemetery
see.
trust fund and some out of the general fund so that, you're leaving a little bit more in the cemetery trust fund
Right.
to have more options in the future? I don't know, I'm,
Right, but you got to remember some of the comments we've had in our meetings with finance.
Yeah.
And so the idea that we have money sitting for a purpose, it's already earmarked for a purpose.
Right.
And to just leave it sitting there not used, instead say, oh, we want to keep some of it still sitting there, may not fly real high, some of them.
That's my concern. It won't fly high with finance. It also won't fly with the public, as I sit there and vote too and make these decisions. And I could well imagine people questioning, why are we paying taxes? Why is our tax money going for this when you have money in the fund, which hasn't been used all these years?
Right.
I,
And you got to remember, this fund is going to continue to build back up again over time.
yeah.
So, and when you talk about things like working on the vault, that's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to be a bid situation. It's going to be just like the Chime Tower and any other historic monument in town, where it's going to take years before you can get
I'm
them.
convinced. I just want to bring it
And
up.
those kinds of things are easier to put on
Yeah.
as a warrant article.
and there may be some CPC funding for some of these historic structures.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that
I
would be
think,
useful.
I think with Mr. White's points and yours, I think the main thing is that how fortunate the people are that you have a board that's concerned about preservation and improvements moving forward. You've recognized situations and you want to make it, the more we do now, the less there's to do later,
Yes, yes. As I said, time and weather, and those are not stopping. So
No.
we need to move on these.
No, I think he's exactly right. And I think it's your leadership that has really done a
Yes.
great job here. I mean,
Well-
congratulations. This is going fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. It's a wonderful board. I think that's really. So on that happy note, probably should quit here while we're ahead, right? Thank you all.
I have a question, and it's from just, being new on the board. The people that are buried in the cemetery, is that information computerized?
Not yet, no, it is not. That is one of the things I'm looking at down the road. I'd like to digitize all of our cards.
Looking for a project, Pat?
Yeah,
I was thinking, when my brother was buried in the cemetery down in Virginia, and then my sister and I, 20, 30 years later, went back I knew sort of where the burial site was, but they had a wonderful, simple system at that cemetery that just alphabetically listed the names of all the people and then said what section it was. And then they had a map that was just with the different sections. So it was easy to localize or generalize into a certain section and to find the body. That would be such an easy thing to I would love to do that.
And now we can, I mean, it's so low tech, I was able to do it. You can create a GPS map that is so specific. I mapped out every single Ice Glen tree that we need to tree by tree. It shows the exact point of where they're located. You can do the same thing, but you can put a GPS tag to every grave and literally someone could take their phone and say, I want to go to this person and, boom.
Definitely, it's something I really want to do.
But all you'd have to do is get the names in there so that you can sort them any different way, sort them by
Right.
sections, sort them
Database
by.
is great,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we
that
definitely
it-
want to do that, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so our next meeting is Tuesday, April 26th, and I will send out agenda and minutes. And I need a motion to adjourn.
Should we adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good job.
See you
Thank
next
you.
month. Yeah.